I did an original review for this book, I'm going to say about 18 months ago. It may be longer, but I think it's about 18 months ago. Now, this was the very first novelisation that I have ever read by an indie author, and only the second novelisation I've ever read, well, full stop, and that is Titanfind by Christian Francis. Now, the novelizations that Christian writes generally are movies that I would not watch in a month of Sundays. Now, when I say that, that's not being mean, but I tend to, when I was a kid, through to when I was a teenager, I used to, when Poundland in the UK first opened, they would have DVDs all over the front of the shop, a pound, and there'd be 4 movies on the disc. And they'd usually be straight to DVD movies, comedy special effects, they were that bad, and the storyline that you might find if you had a fishing rod and a lot of patience. These are the sorts of movies that I now tend to veer away from, just because I don't have a lot of time. So when I watch a movie, I want to watch one that I've anticipated watching for a long time. However, that has all changed again now, because Christian Francis is a friendly and literary parasite, in the sense that he writes things that worm their way into your brain. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point he writes about a literal worm that worms its way into your brain. Now, I am a huge fan of Christian's books. I have all of them behind me on the bottom shelf, except for the Wishmaster novelisation, and it is on my list. But I have every other book he's ever written back there. And the reason is his storytelling ability. Now, let me just give you a brief overview of Titanfind. If you haven't seen the movie, which I think in the States was called Creature, if I remember rightly, there is a creature which has been sleeping for 2,000 centuries on Titan, the moon of Saturn, until now. So we follow a crew of scientists. They arrive on a, distant planet to discover archaic artifacts of unknown origin. Never seen them before. They think they've hit pay dirt, essentially, is what's happened there. I nearly knocked the camera over there. What's happened there? But they discover that, now this is going to sound really weird and old school, but the Germans are the enemy. But in terms of corporations, not in terms of, all-out warfare in space. And they've already got a ship there. But they cannot find where they are. And eventually they come across the Germans' bodies. Now, they have been, what's a platform-friendly way of saying this? Gutted, sliced, chopped to pieces, dead, slaughtered. All these various delightful words would apply by these archaic creatures which they'd woken up. And now that same alien is hunting them down. This book is very violent, it is very bloody, it is very gruesome, and the descriptive element is first class. The micro storytelling is, as always with a Christian book, top notch. It is one of the key components that keeps bringing me back to Christian's books. The way he can just pick somebody at random, give them an entire backstory, and then move on. I love it. I've started adapting it into my own books now. Now, the reason Titanfind is particularly special to me is because it was written in a style and genre that's very close to my own writing ideas, and I read this around the same time that I read Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes. Now, once I'd read both of those books, an idea began to form in my head. Now, that idea became Horizon. And Horizon was inspired by both of those books. And that is now my best-selling book of all time. And it's won an award. And it's up for a second award, which is voted on this month. So this book, and I've got a copy of it here somewhere, this book is massively special to me for that exact reason. And if you follow Christian on social media, you will have seen that he has, I think, 8 or 9 novelizations announced for this year, and many more apparently to come. So I'm just like it's like a literary Christmas all year for me now, because I know that there's book after book after book coming. If you haven't read any of Christian's novelizations, please do. They are fantastic. And the good thing about them is they are timeless. Whereas movies you look at now from the 70s and 80s and they're laughable, the books keep the drama, they keep the intensity, they keep the fear factor. And it's really, really important to do that. Christian's original works, his own books that have come from him from scratch, are just some of the finest horror and dark fantasy I've ever come across. My favourites would probably, having read them all now, my favourites would probably be The Deadwoods, and tough choice, but I'd probably go with Incubus: The Descent. That book, I could almost smell the putrefaction in the pages through the descriptions of such matter. It was just intensely vivid. So yeah, if you don't know who Christian is, then I'm not sure we can be friends, to be honest. But go and seek him out. His books are amazing. He is a diamond of a guy. We've become good friends since. He's done a lot of things for me to help me in my own indie author journey, including designing the cover for Horizon and the revamped Dark Corner books. He's just an absolute legend, and I really, really cannot urge you to go and check his stuff out enough, because it is brilliant. So yeah, I shall be back at some point with another revisited review. So I shall see you then.